Hi guys, welcome back to Crafting with Socorro. So today's DIY is going to be on the steampunk necklace that I'm wearing. If you remember, in my introduction video, I first showed you the necklace that I'm wearing and that I was going to be doing a DIY on it. So in this DIY, I will explain to you all of the pieces I used, how I set them up, and how it's all put together. So let's get straight to the DIY. Okay, so for this DIY, you are going to need some cogwheels, antique colored chains, fasteners, 2 needle nose pliers, and a claw clamp to hold the necklace together. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clear our workspace so that I have a blank workspace to start with. Okay, now that my workspace is all clean and blank, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start laying out how I want my necklace to look. Now the reason why I'm laying it out is so that I kind of get a feel of how I want it to look before I start putting it together. That way I don't have to go back and redo something because I've decided once I put it together I don't like how it looks. So you can see the process and my thought process of putting this together. And now that it's all put together, it's arranged the way I like it to look. So I'm going to make sure it's all the way it's done. And now that it's the way that I want it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull out my antique colored chain. I'm going to start attaching the pieces. Now I already had this small piece of chain that I liked. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself some fasteners out of their little package. And I'm going to attach that piece of chain. Now I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to try to find the little opening in it. I'm going to take my 2 pliers and I'm going to pull that fastener apart so that it creates an opening. Then I'm going to attach the bottom of my little clock hand and the one end of my chain into that. And then I'm going to close them. Now when I close my fasteners, I prefer that they overlap a little bit because I feel that makes them a little bit more secure. It does cause them to be a little flat, so I do stick my needle nose pliers into it to try to clamp it down and round it out a little bit. Then I'm going to take another fastener and I'm going to pretty much do the same thing. I'm going to attach my little clock pendant, the top of it, to the other end of that chain, and then I'm going to close it up and make sure that it's securely closed again. Now you want to make sure that everything is securely closed because you don't want it to fall apart in the middle of wearing it, and you want to make sure that it's going to hold its shape. Now I am laying everything back out the way that I set it up just to make sure that I don't lose my place of where I want everything to go. Because trust me, it's a pain in the neck to have to go back and redo something because you lost your place in it. So I'm going to take my chain and I'm going to take some more fasteners out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of measure out and count how many links I want to connect the different cogwheels to my little clock charm. Now I had all of my cogwheels at different lengths because I kind of wanted it to have a layered look to it. For you, that all depends on how you want it to look. You might want it to have different layers, but then again, you might not. It all depends on your personal style. So for my small cog, I chose about 6 links, and then I went ahead and detached them from the chain and made sure that those holes are, connected back the way they were. And then I'm going to take my fastener and I'm going to connect one end of the chain to the far left hole that's on that little clock charm. And then I'm going to pretty much do the same thing to the cogwheel on the other side. Now, depending on the kind of cogwheel that you choose, it might be a little bit more difficult in order to attach your little fastener, depending on the thickness, the size. So keep that in mind when you are picking out what cogwheels you want to go with it. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the other side. And like I said, I did choose different lengths for my cogwheels. The small one I chose about 6 links, the middle one I chose about 9, and the top one I chose about 7. It all depends on how you want it to look. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach the rest of my cogwheels and show you what that looks like. So this is with all my cogwheels attached, and as you can see, it's all different lengths, and you can see my little clock hand at the top. And I'm going to go ahead and lay that back out the way I had it. I want to make sure I keep it the way I have it so that I remember how everything's going to be attached. And then I'm going to take some more chain, move that bottom cogwheel kind of to the center because that's where it's going to be. And I'm going to take my chain and measure it from the cogwheel over to the other cogwheel it's going to be connected to. Then I'm counting out how many chains in between, just to make sure that it's the right length so I don't have to go back and keep readjusting it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to separate those from the chain, and I'm going to make sure that I attach all of that properly. Now this is a little time consuming because I chose them all to be different lengths. So because I chose them all to be different lengths, all the different cogwheels are going to have a different length chain meeting up to the end cogwheel. So I'm going to once again take my fastener and I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to attach the end of the chain to the other side of that other cogwheel. And I'm going to make sure that that is, as usual, securely fastened. This cogwheel was a little bit more difficult, but that's because the hole left a little bit more of a space in between. So it made it a little difficult to make sure that those were clamped and securely placed where I wanted them. So as you can see, I was having a slight issue here, and I had to keep readjusting it and fixing it. Like I said, that all depends on the different materials that you use. So I'm going to lay it back out, and then I'm going to take another fastener. And what I'm going to do here is I am eventually going to attach all of the chains to the same fastener. But the first thing I want to do is I want to attach my first chain, and I want to attach it onto the cogwheel so that I can kind of see where it's going to go and how I like it. And it did give me a little bit of difficulty to clamp it on, but like I said, I did want to make sure that it was the way I wanted it before I finish attaching the rest of the chains. And like I said, they are all going to be attached to the same fastener once I'm done getting it adjusted the way that I want it to be. So you see me clamping this down, shaping it the way I want it. And then I'm going to lay the cogwheel back down as soon as I'm finished. Just like that. And I'm going to lay them all back out so that I'm accurately measuring the chain from the cogwheel the way I want it to be so I don't mess it up. Because as you can see, I keep readjusting myself multiple times just to make sure I get it just right. So now that I've gotten all of my chain done and it's all ready, I'm going to attach all three pieces to the same fastener. I've already attached my first two pieces and I've already detached it from that cogwheel. And I'm going to link them all together and put the cogwheel back on, and I'm going to close it up. And I'm giving you a little bit of a closer look here on how I close it. You can see how it gave me some difficulties again. This all depends on the kind of material that you buy and where you get it from. Personally, I prefer to buy at AC Moores and Michaels because they do have a little bit better material, but they are a little bit on the pricier side depending on which one you get and what you get from each one. So I'm attaching this and I'm making sure that it's attached the way that I want it to be attached. And that's all nicely and secure and rounded. And then I'm going to kind of untangle those chains, make sure they're properly. And here is a closer look on how it looks up close for just that part. You can see how the different chains are different and kind of get the feel of how I want it to look. Then I'm going to go ahead and the only thing I have left are my little loop screws to attach. And I'm kind of using them as like a charm. So I did use 3 different colors. I chose a copper, an antique color, and a silver because I didn't want it all to be the same color. It'd be very boring if you did. So I'm going to take my fastener and I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach my first one. I chose to attach the silver one first, just because it was the one on the far left, so I figured it would make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to attach that and make sure that is securely fastened. And once I get that the way I like it, I can go ahead and attach the other two. Now, I did realize once I started looking at this and I started laying it back out, I did realize that the last cogwheel was placed on backwards. Now, because it was placed on backwards, I did have to go back and redo it. So you can kind of see how I'm looking at it and how it looks funny. So I did go back and I redid that and I flipped that back over before I finished putting on my little screws. Certain cogwheels, depending on what package you get and what you are using, they are two-sided where it doesn't matter what side it's on, you can use either side. But this particular one was actually just one-sided. So I could only use the one side, which did make it a little bit of a pain. So I'm just attaching my last little screw here, and it was giving me some difficulty as well. All of this comes with practice as well. You're not going to be perfect the first time, so don't expect to be. So it all takes practice, and like they always say, practice makes perfect. So here's another close-up of how that looks. And I'm going to go ahead and lay that back out. So everything is now attached. So the only thing left is to attach more chain for the necklace part so that it can attach to the back of your neck, obviously. So I didn't do any kind of measurement. I just kind of eyeballed how I want my long piece of chain to be. And I just detached it where I thought it would be good. And I did attach a fastener to the end of one side. You can't really tell that much, but I did, because that's going to be where the claw is going to clamp onto. So I made sure that was secure. And then I took a fastener to attach to the other side. So I'm going to open that up, attach the other end of my chain to it, and then attach it to that cogwheel on the side. And then once again, I'm going to close that and make it nice and secure for you. Because like I said, you definitely do not want this falling apart on you. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's clamped over and nice and rounded. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay that back down. So then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. But this side, I'm not going to make the chain as long because obviously there's already quite a bit piece there. And you have to keep in mind that that clock hand is also going to be part of that. So I am making that one shorter, and I'm going to detach it from the chain. Now with this one, what I'm going to do a little differently is I'm going to then take my little claw clamp and I'm going to attach it directly to the chain. As you can see, that's my little claw clamp, and I'm going to attach it there. Now, depending on the kind of chain you get will also depend on if you can attach it directly with the claw or if you have to have a fastener. If the chain's not thin enough to attach the claw right to it, then you will have to put a fastener there. But in my case, the chain worked just fine. So then I'm going to go ahead and take another fastener, and I'm going to attach the other end of that chain to that loop at the top of my clock hand. So once that's done, your necklace is pretty much ready to go. You can wear it and enjoy it. So I'm going to show you how I securely did this. Going to round it off once again. And then I will be ready and set. This one also didn't quite want to cooperate with me. So now that I've got it the way I like it, I'm going to attach this. Now I am right-handed, so I do prefer to have my clamp on the right, but you can have it on what other side you want. And there's your necklace. So I hope you guys liked it and enjoy making your own. So that was the DIY on the Steampunk Necklace. So make sure that you leave a comment below on what you thought. And if you have any more DIY ideas for me, I hope you guys enjoy and make your own. Have fun. Bye.